Welcome back to Siege and Destroy with I'm TJ Sumter 55. You can find me on X. Also see me on Facebook or wherever else you might be able to find my sleeper app as well. So this is a show where we like to discuss the format. The show's format is buy, sells, and holds, and basically just trading strategies and so on and so forth that we like to do. You want to introduce yourself there?
Yeah, this is the Siege. Welcome everybody. Glad to be back again. Um, my YouTube handle is at the Siege Belly Up. My X handle is at the Siege, and you can find me on Sleeper at the Siege 24.
All right. With that being said, let's dive in here, and we're gonna do two players that we're buying, two players that we are selling, and one player that we are holding. We may overlap each other, but that's fine. We might also get off topic a little bit. But first, I think you wanted to mention something about some news today.
Yeah, so the breaking news all day, as if you've watched last week, I am a Jets fan, is the fact that Robert Saleh is now gone, has been fired from the New York Jets. I take this as a happy side. Happy because I thought he should have been going last year, and he should have been going in the off season. Sad because I don't believe this makes the team any better than it was. You still have Aaron Rodgers basically running the offense. Nathaniel Hackett is just garbage from what I can tell, and now you have Jeff Ulbrich taking over, but he's basically Robert Saleh just in a different body. So I don't see how this improves the team. Maybe you get the Antonio Pierce effect from last year where he took over and the team just liked the new interim coach so much that they play harder. And everybody, in instance, is playing for a contract for next year. You have to show what you have, especially with them getting rid of the coach. So whatever new coach comes in, everybody could potentially be gone. But I just honestly don't see how this team got better by getting rid of a coach that, in all honesty, wasn't great, but he wasn't the worst coach in the league.
Yeah, I think that's too, especially when you're sitting 2-3. Like, I think it's a little early to be calling for his head. I feel like it's too early to kind of panic on him. Um, Robert Saleh never really had it fair in New York, in my opinion. I always felt like like he was always set up for failure in New York.
Yeah, he was. His quarterback situation was the worst. Anytime you have Zach Wilson at quarterback, Mike White at quarterback, Tim Boyle at quarterback, Trevor Seaman at quarterback, it's just like, wow, I don't know how you succeed. Then he lost Rodgers 4 plays in last year, and that didn't improve his odds of staying. So again, if they would have did it in the off season, I would have understood it. But then I realized, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. I realized I know why they didn't do it in the off season. Because if they did it in the off season, Hackett would have been gone. If Hackett would have been gone, Rodgers would have been upset. They do it this way, Hackett stays. They don't make him the head coach. He stays offensive coordinator. Rodgers still runs the show, and Rodgers is still technically happy, at least until the offseason when the next coach comes in and Hackett is gone. So in their head, they couldn't do it in the offseason. They had to wait till during the season, but doing it after a 2-3 start, yes, the last two games were bad losses, but look at the Bengals. The Bengals don't have the greatest record. I mean, look at Dallas. Doesn't have the greatest record. It's like there's certain teams that are ahead of the pack, and then there's certain teams right in the middle of it. They have a first place game coming up on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. If they won that game, they couldn't get rid of Salah. So they had to get rid of him now because any later, they wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah, I just didn't see it. Like, It's kind of, I don't know. I still think in my head, I think Aaron Rodgers is really the one that's kind of calling the shots there, running the show. People can say what they want about it, but I definitely feel that way. Billy Common at least keeps the day-to-day tight.
He keeps his side of the ball his defensive side of the ball. They don't have the top 3 defensive in the league, but it's not like they gave up 1 touchdown to the Vikings and no touchdowns to the Broncos. The team is not a bad team defensively. Their offensive identity is their problem.
Yeah, you kind of said it right there with the game-winning drive in London with that costly interception. Well, that maybe I don't remember the last time Aaron Rodgers even had a 3-interception game, so that was kind of crazy by itself.
Yeah, I don't remember that either, especially a 3-interception game with the pick 6 included in it. Like that was an anomaly. And do I hope they get better? Of course I do. As a Jets fan, I hope they get better. I think they can get better. Their timing is off on the offense. The receivers are running routes Rodgers isn't expecting. At the end of the day, I believe that they will get themselves together. But if the offense turns itself around, it's not because they let go of Ober. It will be because Aaron Rodgers finally decided to do something.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how everything's going to play out there because we know that how the defense is. I mean, the defense has been banged up quite a bit here and there, and I honestly I didn't see a lot of Sauce Gardner in that game again, which is kind of strange to me. It looked like he was kind of not in so many plays. I don't know what's up with that, if he's hurt or what's up with that, and they're just keeping that under wraps.
He's been nursing an injury since week 2 when he injured his shoulder on that play when he was trying to make the tackle and got that thigh to the shoulder. So he's been nursing an injury on it since week 2. I don't know why he hasn't shown up on the injury report, but maybe he says I'm good to go and he's not. But
yeah, I figure if anyone would know the answer to that question, it would be a Jets fan. So I'm all about the fantasy and the offensive side of the ball. I don't do a lot of IDP, so I don't pay attention to what necessarily is going on, other than usually like the cornerback matchups. But like Justin Jefferson is pretty much cornerback proof. Like he pretty much can get past about anybody in the NFL. It's not really a problem for him to get past somebody. We can move on from talking about the Jets, though, and get right into our buys and sells. And we're going to go ahead and do our first buy. And who's your first buy of this week?
So the first player that I'm buying this week is going to be Jalen Tolbert from the Dallas Cowboys. He had a very bad start to the season, and week 4 against the Giants wasn't that great either. But with Cooks out on IR, his targets will go up. He had a winning touchdown against the Steelers this past week. This past week alone, he had 21.70 points on Sleeper. Yes, the Cowboys play the Lions this week, but I will take a chance on his talent. And I know that as a player, and again, especially with Cooks out, and CD is getting a lot of attention. That it's going to go to Tolbert or it's going to go to Turpin. So I'm leaning more Tolbert because I think Dak is starting to trust him more. He's starting to become an outlet. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a reason to buy.
Yeah, I think I'm totally in on the Tolbert buy. He was kind of a dynasty darling 3 years ago, or you're right. Yeah, I think this is his 3rd year now. He was kind of a dynasty darling, and honestly, like a sleeper his rookie year as well. Like a lot of people were kind of into taking him late in drafts. It's just kind of coming all together for him at this point, and it's kind of, I mean, a little bit of it has to do with the Brandon Cooks injury. I mean, but he was already with. He was already starting to get looks beyond Brandon Cooks already being there. I really like that call for a buy this week. My first buy is probably going to be kind of more of like a buy low, which would be Breece Hall. And I just don't imagine that the whole whole run game thing with him. I don't think he's outscored more than 7 points the last couple weeks in fantasy. But we obviously know how talented Breece Hall can be, and I think maybe with this coaching change, and I think that kind of can maybe be a little bit more beneficial for Breece Hall going forward. I know they're kind of getting closer and closer to more of a split between him and uh, who's
Braylon Allen.
I know they're getting more and more of a split to Braylon Allen, but I'm still like on the side of buying Breece Hall, and I think some people are probably on the edge of panicking over him, but I think maybe with this with the new coach coming in, maybe they're going to kind of more find their identity. I think everything starts through the run game, and I think as soon as and you know what, one thing too that I should say is like, if the trade with Devontae Adams happens, I think that opens up everything underneath for Breece Hall to be able to run all over the field as well. With they have someone else over the top that's really, because Mike Williams and Alan Lazard, they're not. Alan Lazard is getting the targets, and we got Tyler Conklin getting the targets. But I honestly feel like if having Adams would be a total game changer there, because he's gonna demand a lot more attention along with Garrett Wilson, and them having to respect the pass a lot more than they have been is gonna make the run game wide open for Aaron Rodgers and the rest of the offense. And I really think that he could have himself like more of a how the Aaron Jones was a few years ago when Aaron Rodgers and Adams were there. That's kind of how the way I'm kind of viewing it right now.
Yeah, I'm not on the same level with you on Breece Hall. Coming into the season, I wasn't that high on Breece Hall. I don't have that many shares of Breece Hall in most of my fantasy leagues. I admit Breece has talent, but he doesn't have top speed talent. His runs out of the backfield, maybe once in a blue moon does he break one, a long one. And this offense just looks like it's either going to run a dual running back scheme with him and Braylon Allen, him taking over in the first portion of the game, Braylon Allen taking over probably mid-second into the third, and then it's a platoon situation going into the fourth, and or whoever has the hot hand. I like Braylon Allen's vision more than I like Breece Hall's vision, especially up the middle. And Breece is a bigger back than Braylon, but it just seems like Braylon has a little bit more elusiveness and more of a not give up mentality. So for me, I wouldn't buy Breece, but I can see why people are still buying Breece.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the ultimate just buy low right now thing, because I would imagine if you're probably the Breece owner or in the Breece owner's shoes, like they are probably panicking right now. That's why I think it's probably a good time to probably sneak in and buy low on them. Like if you could send Chuba Hubbard and something to get them, I would be all about that. Billy says with New York Jets and New Orleans possibly out on Adams' sakes, this could get wild. Does Buffalo prioritize wide receiver after dismantling in Houston? I'm not sure if Buffalo does it. I think the most logical team would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, and and that goes beyond anything with the Jets that I had previously mentioned. Is Pittsburgh Steelers was very aggressive in the offseason on trying to acquire Brandon Ayuk. They had a deal in place to get Brandon Ayuk on the team and pay him. So I imagine I totally imagine that the Pittsburgh Steelers will probably be the ones to step up and get him, because they desperately need somebody paired with George Pickens on the outside, because nobody is respecting anything beyond George Pickens in that offense right now. And honestly, part of it has to do with Justin Fields being the quarterback as well. Maybe if Russell Wilson was there, it might be a little bit better as well with Adams. But it's just going to be something that's going to play out and remains to be seen in the meantime.
I think that Buffalo is dependent on this Monday Night Football game. I believe that if Buffalo comes out of that Monday Night Football game looking at their offense and looking at these young wide receivers saying we need a little help, I think they will go get Adams. I think if the New York Jets come out of this and they get a win, they will try to go get Adams. If the Jets lose, they're not going after Adams. If Buffalo wins, they may not go after Adams because they felt like they could get rid of Diggs and be fine. So I don't think they'll make a full-on push unless they lose on Monday night. As far as the Steelers could make a push. I could see that because, like you said, they were going hard after Ayuk. It's just Ayuk at one point said he refused to go to the Steelers, and they couldn't get a trade done because, in essence, San Francisco was just dangling like a carrot, and they had no intention of actually letting him go. So
the report was that he had the deal in place to, with the Steelers on the contract, and they had a deal in place with the Steelers on the trade. But Ayuk and the San Francisco organization met in the 11th hour before the trade was going to get through, and then they came up with the deal that kept him there.
I heard that, but I also heard that it was a hard push for even Ayuk to accept an offer from the Steelers because of their quarterback situation.
Yeah, I'm not so sure there. I know that he wants to play, or he wanted to play for Tomlin. That was like one of his biggest things there. Let's see, Billy says Brees is also the team's second best wide receiver, and Braylon allows Brees to play in the slot more. I'm not so sure on Brees really actually like being able to play in the slot like a lot more or anything like that. But they do that. I think the whole Jets offense as a whole, it needs to figure out the run game before it figures out the rest of the offense. That's just my opinion.
So Brees being the second best wide receiver, I could say third, and he's probably fourth on the list of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets because Lazard is obviously his favorite target. He tries to get Garrett Wilson into the passing game as much as possible. He's starting to warm up to Mike Williams. So I would say Brees is option number 4. I agree with you. The running game has to get figured out because, in all essence, they should be a ground and pound kind of offense. They should run the ball up the middle to the outside, let their running backs take over, and then do passes where they need to. Aaron Rodgers is not the Aaron Rodgers of old. He's the Aaron Rodgers of being old. So with that being said, they need to basically make sure that he's standing up, he can see over the line, and he's not making passes of 8 to 10 yards every single time he steps back. So,
all right, moving on kind of from the Jets again, but who's your first sell of this week?
So my first sell of this week may come as a surprise to some, but I've been selling him since the offseason, and that's Amari Cooper. Let's take a look at numbers so far for the season. One, he had 3.60 points. Week 2, he had 4.10 points. Week 3, he had 27.6 points. Week 4, he had 7.5 points. And week 5, he had 10 points. Those don't seem like league-winning numbers for a wide receiver to me. Yes, he had the explosion in week 3, but that was more of an anomaly than consistency. The Cleveland Browns offense looks flat out bad with Watson at quarterback, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. If I had Cooper, I would be selling him and selling him hard this early in the season and hoping that you can get something for him.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. The only thing that's going to change there in Cleveland is if Jameis Winston gets under center. And, I mean, historically bad quarterback play from Deshaun Watson right now. His last game, I think, was 9.8 QBR. The game against the Cowboys was like a 9.6 QBR. Like we didn't even know that you could be in the single digits in a QBR.
Yeah, he's playing historically bad. I don't know if it's the new case he just got or what's going on, but he's been bad since the beginning of the season. He shows flashes once or twice a game, but if the quarterback isn't reliable, then the wide receivers that's on that team aren't reliable either. So Amari Cooper is definitely somebody that I'm selling at this point because it makes no sense to hold on to him if you're trying to make a run to a championship.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing that's going to save that there is Jameis Winston getting under center, but it just seems like Kevin Stefanski says we're going to stick it out with Watson. He's our guy. But I think that's more of the owner kind of pushing down on we're paying this guy how much money, and I feel like Kevin Stefanski is a great coach, and I feel like he's just being held hostage in the situation that he shouldn't necessarily be in.
Yeah, I agree, but at some point you're either going to have to sit him or you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, I don't know. I know somebody's going to lose their job. It's just is it gonna be Watson or Stefanski or both? I just cannot see how the Browns are going to be able to get out of that contract even this next offseason. I think they stole like $146 million on if they cut him like even this next year. Yeah, like because this contract is fully guaranteed. It's literally like the worst contract like anyone has ever gotten.
Yeah, it's gonna be down to the wire and trying to figure out exactly what they want to do because they're stuck. Stefanski is stuck, the GM is stuck, the owners are stuck, everybody is just stuck with Watson, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be any improvement in that situation at all.
Yeah, the best thing that could happen for the Browns right now is if Deshaun Watson himself retired and gave up all that money, but we both know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's like. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, I was just gonna say. I was just gonna move on to my sell of this week. My sell of the week is going to be Christian Kirk. The Jaguars' offense necessarily hasn't been that great at all. It does seem like it was kind of a get right game against the Colts. They don't lose against the Colts at home anyway. I don't think they've lost in I don't even know. It's been like 10 years or something since they've lost against the Colts at home. But we both kind of called it last week where it was kind of going to be a big game for Trevor Lawrence, and the 300-yard passing streak against the Colts continued. And Christian Kirk was one of the beneficiaries of that, and he had 16 fantasy points, which I think he's had 16 or more the past 3 weeks. For fantasy as well, but we also do have Evan Ingram on the horizon as coming back soon. I think that's really going to eat into Christian Kirk's target share. And Christian Kirk, I think he probably is a high sell candidate right now. If you can trade him and another player, you could probably upgrade at the position and buy somebody else low. And we'll probably talk about who you could buy low a little bit later. Maybe even you have the guy that you could buy low with your next buy.
Yeah, I'll agree with you with Christian Kirk. I don't believe in that offense. I think that offense has a lot of issues. I think Trevor Lawrence is still trying to figure it out after the big contract. I sold ETN last week, and he didn't show up this week. I'm definitely selling Christian Kirk because even though that offense isn't viable, he still put up decent numbers the last 3 weeks. But that's off of 4 targets this week. Like, he's averaging less than 5 targets on 3 games. That's horrible for a starting wide receiver for any fantasy football team. So I'm definitely in the same line with you when it comes to Christian Kirk.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because one of my buys last week was also Brian Thomas Jr. as well. So that was kind of like a, buy one, sell the other kind of thing, back-to-back weeks. Who is your next buy?
So my next buy could be considered a buy low candidate. Um, is Joshua Downs. I'm buying on Joshua Downs. He had a great week while Flacco was throwing the ball to him. Week 4, he had around 22 points, give or take, depending on your scoring in your league. And this week against Jacksonville in the divisional game, he had around 15 on sleeper. He is in the second year, and as long as Flacco is a quarterback, he should be successful. When Anthony Richardson, when A. Rich comes back, his numbers may drop, but I don't think they will drop by much because he doesn't really have that much competition in the wide receiver room on that team. Adonai Mitchell isn't doing anything. You have JT as a running back, but yeah, he catches out of the backfield. But Mo and Lee Cox does something once in a while. Like it's not like they have an abundance of riches when it comes to receivers. So for that reason, I'm definitely buying Joshua Downs.
Yeah, and I think even with Richardson coming back at some point, I feel like Josh Downs has got that slot role on lock, and I don't see Mitchell challenging him at all yet, and I feel like he can be viable no matter who's probably quarterback there at this current time.
Yeah, for me, as soon as like I've been watching him since last season, and last season they just had a bunch of quarterback problems. But it seems like his route running has gotten better this year also. He's understanding the offense a little bit more. So, and he seems to be the go-to receiver, whether it's A-Rich or whether it's Flacco. So because of that, his target share is pretty decent. I mean, this week, his target share went up because Flacco was a quarterback. But I'm definitely buying on it.
Yeah, so my next buy is going to be Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk, and I think with Deebo Samuel, it didn't look good this past week, and him being injured in the 2 weeks previous to that, I think he's somebody that's an excellent buy low right now. I think that offensive side of the ball is going to get it started more. I just don't see how that team can be held back for too much longer. There's just a lot of things just not really going their way right now. The other, like Brandon Ayuk, I am also buying because I think the peripherals look good on Brandon Ayuk. It started out real slow, but I mean you could blame that on a lack of being in camp and not being there for the preseason and so on. But his numbers look good. He's getting the yards. He's getting the catches, the volume, and he's getting the red zone targets. His biggest issue right now that's been holding him back is actually finding the end zone. He's had 6 red zone targets to start the season, so I imagine that kind of flips itself overhead pretty soon. But I don't know if you're necessarily going to get like a wide receiver 1 number out of him or anything like that. But him flipping around to be a solid wide receiver 2 and probably both of them to be a wide receiver 2 from here on out the rest of the season, I think would probably be an excellent buy low, if you will. Because most of the time when I'm trying to buy low. If I'm not, otherwise I'm buying for a stud, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree. Now would probably be the perfect time to buy, especially Deebo. Ayuk's price probably is still high, but Deebo's price would have dropped since the beginning of the season. So I would definitely agree with you that buying either one of them would be good. I'm more inclined to buy Deebo because they like him out of the backfield too, so you can potentially get some, rushing yards out of it or a rushing touchdown out of it. His targets this week, I mean, he had 3 targets this week, but he didn't have a good week this week, but the previous weeks he did. Yeah. So besides the 1 week he was out. So Ayuk is always going to be a target for me because I like how he runs his routes. I like how he gets open. I like how Purdy likes to get him the ball in anticipation. But if I had to pick one of the two, I would definitely lean more Debo because of the multifaceted way that he plays, and he could get the ball in the backfield. And Kittle does take some of the targets away from Ayuk. So because Kittle's there, I would lean more Debo and probably I'm not sending you a first round pick or I'm not sending you a bunch of stud players for him, but he's definitely wide receiver two material. So I would send you that kind of value.
Yeah. Moving on, who's your next sell of the week?
My next sell is going to be Cortland Sutton. Easy target, you say? Yes, but it needs to be said given the you need to give up on Cortland Sutton. I know people that have been huge Cortland Sutton followers since the time he's come into the league. He barely registers as a wide receiver one to me. Last year he did have a decent year, but the quarterback situation in Denver is always up and down. Has been for a couple of years. His numbers for week one were around 7.8, week two, 3.6, week three, 13, week four, 15, and week five, 5. Like, that's not wide receiver one numbers. You're looking at Jamar Chase, wide receiver one numbers, Justin Jefferson, wide receiver one numbers. Those are just bad. Yes, he had decent weeks 3 and 4, but let's be honest, he's been one of the biggest letdowns when you're looking for a wide receiver one when you're drafting in any preseason draft league, like any redraft league. So for me, I'm definitely selling Cortland Sutton, and to be honest, I'm selling him for whatever I can get from him.
Yeah. The Broncos are winning, which is good, but their defense is what's really carrying their. Bo Nix just kind of being a game manager is working well for them, and that's all they really need right now. The Broncos are kind of a team on the up and up, but their offense is just you can't trust anybody in it. There's not a single person that I would want in that offense. Even if I have Javonte Williams right now, which is, I think he performed well last game, but it's just like he would even be somebody that I'd be willing to sell high on like right now because it's just there's not anybody really dependable in that offense that I could fully trust to probably put in my starting lineup week in and week out.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just like you said, that defense is holding them down. The defense is giving them field position to get all the field goals. They're not even really throwing for that many touchdowns. Bo Nix is not producing. So if you're not getting the touchdown numbers out of the players and you're getting receptions and receiving yards, yeah, that's good, but it doesn't count towards a win. Like, you can't really do much with it. You need those extra 6 points that come with those touchdowns. And Cortland Sutton isn't producing that.
And they almost remind me a little bit of the Tebow team back in the day, where their defense is really like carrying that team, and they're getting a lot of field goals and not a lot of touchdowns, and it just seems like the defense is just totally carrying this team. And you know what, the defense is that good can definitely carry a team like that to a wild card berth.
Yeah, I agree. And just for reference, Cortland Sutton only had 1 touchdown this year.
Yeah, and I would be shocked if he by the another 10 weeks from now that he had 5 touchdowns. It would be very shocking for it's just not a very good offense to be buying into, at least right now. So selling anything on that would, I think, is more beneficial to you. My sell is going to be Rico Dowdle of the Dallas Cowboys, and coming off a good game last week, and the week before he did also have a touchdown. But the offense is definitely a pass first offense. Their defense is really beat up right now as well. So they're gonna have to be in somewhat more shootouts than they're not in. They're not going to be able to lean on that defense like they have in years past. Without when Dan Quinn was there and they had the defensive play calling was just a lot better when Dan Quinn was in the building. So like I think like you can't really depend on anything that the Dallas Cowboys are doing with running the ball. Everything that they do is through CeeDee Lamb in the passing game. It kind of goes back to like you buying Jalen Tolbert as well, like them passing the ball because they're a pass-heavy offense. Like Jalen Tolbert doesn't even have to be a wide receiver 2 on that offense. He could be the 3 or the 4 in that offense and still be reliable for fantasy week in and week out. I'm someone like if I have Rico Dowdle, I can't trust to play him in any given week. Just same as like we were talking before about playing a Denver Broncos player. Like I definitely cannot trust him. But he's definitely like if I had stuck with him, that's fine. I'm gonna flex him in on bye weeks and so on and so forth. But if I could get some kind of package on an upgrade and do better on a running back, or if I need a wide receiver there, a wide receiver 2, like kind of like one of the ones that we're talking about buying, I would even trade Rico Dowdle for probably your buy, which would be Jalen Tolbert. How do you feel about that?
I completely agree. After the week he had this week, his touches went up to 20. He got some good fantasy points this week. He ran well. I would sell him right now. I would sell him while he's hot because there's no guarantee that Dallas offensive line is going to open up anything for him to run anywhere, and he's not elusive enough to make it happen. So I'm completely on board with that. So I would sell him in a heartbeat. Like you said, I would sell him for Tolbert. I would sell him for Downs. I would sell him for right about now. I would sell him for a McNugget and a biscuit. Like, give me something because I don't think he can consistently produce all year, and that offense is starting to be pass heavy anyway. So if they're going pass heavy, his touches are going to go down. So I'm completely with you.
Then moving on, who is your hold currently?
So my hold for this week is going to be Brock Bowers. He had an amazing game this week. Davante Adams could potentially be traded, and the team is trying to figure out their quarterback situation, which is like a double-edged sword because they just put in Aiden O'Connell. But did you hear? Did they decide Aiden's taking over, or they put in Gardner back in? Did you hear anything? Because I haven't heard anything yet.
I haven't heard anything official as of yet. I would imagine, just my feeling on it, that Aiden O'Connell will probably be the starter of the next game. This team is definitely a team that's probably heading for in the draft to pick very high and get themselves a new quarterback next year. So I'd imagine it's going to kind of be a flip-flop game from here on out. I don't even know who their third-string quarterback is, but he's probably also going to get some playing time because it's just kind of like one of those things where they're just going to kind of, see what everybody's got before the season ends because the Raiders are in shambles. And I mean, it's sad to think about this early in the season if you're a Raiders fan, but to me, it's all about kind of getting rid of the excess right now, which is Adams, and building upon the future, which is Antonio Pierce and the rest of the offense, and kind of build this team around a new quarterback and Brock Bowers. I really feel like the defense is kind of coming its way along. I feel like they have a lot of good pieces kind of on the defense, especially after this last offseason. I think they can kind of build upon that as well.
Yeah, it's just like Bowers, his targets have been around 8 per week. His 2 low weeks were weeks 3 and 4, but his targets have been steady. So for him, I'm definitely holding. I'm not looking to trade him. And I'm trying to see what happens with Davante Adams. I'm trying to see what happens with the quarterback situation. But even with a bad quarterback, as a tight end running up the middle, he seems to be pretty good at his job. So that's a man that I'm holding on to for now. I mean, their schedule, they have a hard game against the Steelers coming up, and then they get the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Bengals. 2 of those games are definitely games that he can put up some numbers. Not the Chiefs or the Steelers, but the Rams and the Bengals, he could definitely put up some numbers. So
I was gonna say too, like honestly, like the tight end landscape is so terrible right now. I don't know who you would really even put ahead of him. Like, would you rather Sam Laporta or Brock Bowers right now?
Oh, Bowers.
Would you rather have Bowers or Travis Kelce right now?
Bowers.
Yeah, so I think we're probably on the same page as, to me, honestly, the rest of the season, I would probably rather have him over any tight end that's could be available to me. There's no way that I would probably get rid of him at any point during this season. I think he's going to be just fine from here on out. He got his first touchdown this past week too, and I think they're going to continue building upon that too. And he's going to eat into a lot of targets, and then we'll also get Michael Mayer back, I think, probably this week as well. So like that on the other side, that'll kind of free up some blocking. So he'll be more utilized, more even in the slot probably in that offense, which would be even better for his fantasy production.
Yeah, I completely agree. Even with Michael Mayer coming back, I think he still snatches up a bunch of targets, snatches up a bunch of yards, and I think his touchdown numbers go up as the season goes on. Not by much because again they don't have a quarterback throwing him the ball, but he'll be a decent play every week, and I would still take him over majority, if not all, of the other tight ends that's in the league at this point because everybody's numbers at tight end is down except for his, which has been steady since the beginning of the season. So for that reason, that's why I'm holding him. Who are you holding?
Right now, I'm going to hold Wan'Dale Robinson. He's been he's just been getting feasted on with the targets. Daniel Jones, for as much shit as all of us in the fantasy community give him, and he's just been kind of looking competent out there. It had like the team's not totally successful or anything, but Daniel Jones looks kind of competent out there, and he's been able to deliver the ball to Wan'Dale Robinson and Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is playing. Even with Malik Neighbors there, he's good. Without Malik Neighbors, he's good. He's kind of worked his way back from that ACL fully after the year before when he was still kind of working his way back, and he kind of just had a bumpy ride. But I think he's definitely like a flex play week in and week out from here on out, and he's definitely something. Definitely somebody that I would be willing to hold on to unless somebody was willing to give me something really good for him, or I could package him for a stud. But otherwise, I think he's a solid flex play as well. And I'm also just going to go off cuff here too, and also say that just an honorable mention of somebody that I would be holding would be Darnell Mooney as well for kind of the same reasons. I think he looks really, really good with Kirk Cousins and that Falcons offense, and I think he's also a major hold for the rest of the season, and I feel comfortable putting him in my flex week in and week out from here on out.
Yeah, I agree. Wandell looked good this week. I have to honestly admit, even being a Jets fan, Daniel Jones looked decent this week. He looked better than Rodgers. He tossed the ball well. He was on target. They won the game. It worked out well for them. Wandell scored his second touchdown of the season this week. That's good. His targets, he had 9 targets, caught 6. All of those are great signs. And with Romo, I mean, targets are going up. So, excuse me, Neighbors. Sorry, Neighbors. With Neighbors out, the targets are going up. So, I completely understand holding him. I wouldn't get rid of him either. He's a decent play at flex every week. He's definitely not a sell. He's definitely not a buy, and I can definitely see myself holding on to him.
So, with all that being said, I just like to thank Belly Up Sports for giving us this platform to come on here each and every week and kind of give you guys our buys and sells. With that being said, anything you would like to say to kind of close out the show this week?
Well, I just wanted everybody to know that here at Siege and Destroy, we take this seriously. And we hope that we can help you siege and destroy all opponents in your leagues with our buy, sells, and holds.
You know what? I couldn't have said it better myself. And we're just going to end with that. Have a great week, and Hope you guys win your leagues. If you guys need anything, you guys kind of gave you guys the handles to reach out to us, and go ahead and reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Have a good week, and thank you and goodbye.